Hello, BookTube. Well, the bad news is that one of my muscular teenagers is leaving town for the long weekend, and maybe even a little longer. I think it's a break of his of some kind. But the good news is, as he told me earlier today, dude, I have the car all day. He knows how to pick me up. Uh, so I have a book haul for you. It's not a mail haul. My UPS driver and my US mail driver, I think, have the day off. Uh, but it's still lots of interesting stuff that I managed to get ferried around to collect and then uh, had dropped off back here. So I thought I'd show them to you just so we can talk books. And the first one is something that I've mentioned on this channel before. I might even have shown it on this channel before, but I had a trade paperback of it and sent it out to one of you. And then I got a hardcover of it and I sent that out again because it's the kind of book that you want to give to people. And it's this. It's The Demon Haunted World by Carl Sagan. Uh, a, an absolutely wonderful work of nonfiction for Nonfiction November. A coda, really, to a life's work of science enthusiasm and optimistic, humanistic skepticism. Uh, uh, it's a wonderful handbook, a watchword against hucksterism and fake science and science denial. And it's also beautifully written. It's I'm sure that I've praised it on the channel before, but I got this copy because you never know. I always want extra copies of stuff like this, and also because it's a fun book to praise. And then the next one will probably strike some of you as a bit of a surprise. it's it's City of Bones by Cassandra Clare, and it's book one in her Mortal Instruments series. It's the old cover with the ravishing topless teenage boy. If you like that kind of thing. You might think, why on earth would you get a teen novel, YA novel, no matter what you think of the cover? And I have two reasons. One, I actually liked this book when it first came out, and no one had heard of Cassandra Clare. Uh, the bookstore where I was working got a free copy, and I read it. And I thought, it's the underlying story and conceptual framework and the magic system is as poorly thought out as you could possibly get. Read that part of it reads like it was stitched together by a 14-year-old girl who was drunk for the first time on peppermint schnapps. And for all I know, that is what happened. But there was something about the drive of it, the energy of it, the characters that I liked. I remember for years, customers would come into the store for recommendations for me, and they'd get down their list to the bottom, and they'd say, well, I've got a teenager. It doesn't seem like your kind of thing. Is there anything you can recommend? And I would recommend this book, and I never had a report back of anything bad. So that's reason number one. That periodically I might want to reread something like this. And reason number two, something I discovered only once I started flipping through this, and it made my day. Uh, the previous owner of this book annotated it. Now I want to make sure that I can find. I don't know if I can make it clear on camera. Whoever it was, I suspect it was a she. A teenage boy wouldn't have the brains to do this or the involvement. For convenience sake, we'll say she. Argues with the book the whole time. She's reading it and she's clearly liking it, but she won't let it get away with anything, and that's just adorable. There's a paragraph that says, "What the F? Just why? Why not go to Simon?" There's one. Contradictory. Let me find just one more. She has a very endearing habit of boxing and underlining terms and proper nouns that she doesn't know. It's obvious that she's going to find out what they are. But she holds the book to a high standard. Again, stupid. That will bring me great enjoyment, no matter what. So now you're sure. And it reminded me when I knew that I was going to talk about this on camera. It reminded me of a point that I have always wanted to make. I think I might have made it a couple times, but there have been hundreds of videos. So, and that is my love of annotation. I myself annotate virtually everything I read, including, as some of you were shocked to learn a year ago, library books. And my defense of that is my reaction to it when I find it in books of my own that I encounter. Underlining, highlighting, question marks, that's bad. That's just defacing a book. But something like this, the written record of your minute by minute, page by page engagement with the book, whether good or bad, your marginalia, your actual written, readable comments on what you're reading. I don't view that as defacing a book at all. I won't hesitate to buy a book that has intelligent marginalia in it. Won't hesitate. In fact, it's often, as in this case, although I didn't know it at the time, it's often a selling point for me. And I firmly believe that if you were to pick up a book that had previously been owned by me, and it was full of my marginalia, I firmly believe that would not annoy you. So that's why I added this to the pile. And that's also why I want to encourage all of you to annotate everything you read. We're only here but once, and there are no permanent school records. Leave a record of what you're reading, even if it's not your own book. What's going to happen? You're going to get sued? Just don't make it boring. And you've covered all your bases. If your marginality is, I don't understand, I don't understand, I don't understand, or exclamation points or question marks, well, that doesn't tell anybody anything, does it? They don't know who you are. But if you're saying, brilliant point, or this is contradicted on page 313, then you were there. You were in the book. Anyway, next thing is this, something I've mentioned on this channel many times before. It's Cleopatra by Stacy Schiff. But look at this. This is a UK hardcover. The American hardcover has the photo cover of a woman's head looking away, and it's black, and it's sort of boring looking. And it's blue with gold leaf. So of course I snatched it right up. And it had... the UK edition has better paperback, better color photos than the American, but it also had this thing. It had this thing in it, a King Tut bookmark with a tassel. You all know how much I love my tassel bookmarks. So that's great for two reasons. Three reasons actually. A, I love this book. I think it's a great modern biography. B, I like this edition better than the one that I have. And C, this allows me to give away the one that I have. So it's win-win-win. And then the next one is this. It's paperback William Shire's The Nightmare Years, 1930 to 1940. He was a journalist, and for most of this time he was actually in Nazi Germany. Watched Hitler come to power, watched the Nazis achieve a chokehold on society. And I've always liked these old Bantam trade paperbacks. You'll see them in used bookstores from time to time. They don't make them like these anymore, but these were where it was the title, the author, and then a band running in the middle. There was artwork, a drawing. You see this for Conspiracy of Lies, or Silent War, or Time for Trumpets. All these World War II trade paperbacks. I love them all. I wish I had them all. And they're well put together. All I will need to do is reinforce this with tape. I think this is only one volume. I think that these are his autobiographical writings. He was also the author of the gigantic The Rise and Fall of the Third Reich, which is one of the great works of 20th century history. And I think I've probably mentioned it on this channel before, but I will happily mention it again. But I couldn't resist this for reasons that will be self-evident to some Americans now in the wake of our recent election, and will be painfully evident to everyone just inside of a calendar year. But even if that weren't the case, Shire, he's a great writer. He polished these daily observations up to make them a it's a fantastic record of what it was like for a privileged outsider to live in Nazi Germany and see it happening. In fact, one of the great reading experiences you can give yourself is to read this. I think The Nightmare Years is there's a volume after this, but the 1930 1940 is the one to have. Read this in conjunction. Read it at the same time that you're reading the volume covering the same years by Victor Klemperer, I Shall Bear Witness. And two sides of the same coin, an amazing portrait of a society. So anyway, that I'm going to reinforce it. And I think that out of all of these, I think that's going to be the first thing that I reread. And then the last thing I want to show you today, last thing I got is a bit of an oddity. It's this thing. It's lovely, but it's this huge old Barnes & Noble reprint edition of Sherlock Holmes. It's the complete illustrated Sherlock Holmes. So it's not just all the story collections. It's all of the novels as well, all of them with the illustrations. Sidney Paget for most of them, and then the Sidney Paget Manquez for the rest. And when I first saw it, I thought, well, why on earth would you get a book so big you can't carry it around? And then I thought, well, you love reading Sherlock Holmes, rereading Sherlock Holmes. I do it religiously, and you're never going to carry Sherlock Holmes around, no matter what the book looks like, ever again. I don't. It's never going to happen. For the book that I carry around when I walk around, I distantly remember being able to walk around. The book that I carry around is something new. Universally, it's something new. It's the thing that the new book that I am working on now, that I'm engaging with now. It's never anything else. If I'm carrying around a book, that's what it is. I'm never carrying around the Jungle Books or the Mayor of Casterbridge or anything like that, unless it's a new edition that I'm studying because it's new. The thing that I carry around that I don't let out of my hand is the new book that I'm working on. That is just the reality of my life, the way it is, and the way it has been for 7 or 8 years now. And since that's the case, the only time, if I'm going to read a canonical work, an old favorite, something that I absolutely love, when I'm out and about, I'm going to read it on my phone, like a normal person. I'm going to read it in a free text that I download to my phone, that I have on me anyway, that I use as a news ticker and a phone and a text apparatus and a watch. It's indispensable for walking around. If I want a canonical work to read then, if I'm not using a new book in my hand, then it'll be on my phone. I won't be carrying around Sherlock Holmes in a volume. And once I thought that, I realized, well, okay then, if you're never going to be carrying around Sherlock Holmes or Moby Dick or Kim or, William Shakespeare in a book anymore, never going to be traveling with it, never going to be walking around with it, then what difference does it make how big it is? The fact that this is this big means you couldn't walk around with it. But the fact that it's this big also means that the pictures are in beautiful detail. The pages are, if you were to do this in a normal sized hardcover, the print size would be tiny. The pictures would be smushed. The thing would be huge. This might not be congenial for walking around, but it's perfectly congenial for resting on a lap and reading, putting the crook of the arm and reading one story, the Sussex Vampire, The Adventure of the Red-Headed League, whatever Holmes fits the bill at the moment. It was a revelatory moment. It meant that a classic like this need not be something that I look at but not buy. Besides, I have collected Holmes up on the shelf, a big thick thing, also with Sidney Paget illustrations, but it's not nearly as nice looking as this. And I'm not going to walk around with either one of them, so why not get the one that's nice looking? Just put this on the shelf. So I did. And there you have it. It's a bit of a mess, and I'm sure I'm not very audible. But I had an outing, and it was great to feel the air on my skin again. And I got some interesting books. I wanted to share them with you. And I'm hoping to be back to 2 or 3 videos tomorrow. So we'll see. Fingers crossed. And in the meantime, I'll see you soon, book two. Thank you.